Pakistan's political history and challenges. First of all, I will tell you what is in Pakistan. Pakistan was created on 14 August in order to bring about a state for the Muslims living in India because Muslims were minority and the Hindus were majority. So it was very difficult for Muslims to safeguard their interest living in a Hindu majority area after British leave them. And moreover, the Muslim landlords living over there, they supported Muslim League because of their pro-capitalist policies as opposed to Communist Congress to safeguard their own interests. Now, this is the Dinar address to the National Assembly. He gave this address in order to give this impression that the state will have no business with the religion or the creed or anything. If you are Pakistani, you may belong to any other religion or any other that you want. Now, when the state was created, first of all, there was some threats to the state. The most important threat was the clash between the different regional identities and the Muslim nationalism. Pakistan consists of 4 or 5 different regions, and as Tasmi and Asad will tell you later on, all these regions have different history, different languages, and different culture. So it was very difficult for them to create the Muslim nationalism and regional identities in one. And moreover, as a part of colonial legacy, Pakistan state was overdeveloped in a sense, and society was underdeveloped. So there was a little relationship between the state and society, and there was a very poisoned political environment. Like the politicians were fighting with each other, and one of our prime minister was killed when he was addressing the assembly. And another threat was the external threat. As India opposed the creation of Pakistan, so everyone in our country considered India from the start as a external enemy, and still now. Now, in order to cope with these challenges, the state adopted some policies. Most of the biggest one was the bureaucratic control and the maintenance of local elites' power. With these apparatus, the state got very powerful and a strong establishment emerged. With this establishment worked to control the state and used Islam as a coercive power to bring unity in the state. And the political economy of defense emerged. Actually, India was the enemy, considered as an enemy, and for that we need tanks and everything, and it was like the first priority of the state to invest in the defense. Now, adopting these policies, there was extreme dissatisfaction among the Bengalis on the issue of language, representation and development, and minorities started resenting these relationships between Islam and state because there were about 20% of non-Muslims living over there, and they were severely resenting these relationships. And moreover, the judiciary was fighting the legislature was fighting the executive and all for the whole mess. And finally, the military took over in 1958. And during 1950 to 1958, there were like 7 prime ministers in our country and 1 military chief. And as you can see, India had 1 prime minister and several commanders-in-chief. And for the next 13 years, there were only 2 military dictators and no prime minister at all. Now, as army enters, democracy goes on exile. So Ayub identified 2 problems. One is the poverty and another is parliamentary democracy. And he thought Pakistan to be unfit for democracy or like immature for democracy. And this is his interpretation. I may be right, I may be wrong, but I have no doubts. Now, what he did to eliminate these 2 things. First of all, he adopted a growth-oriented economy. In this economy, like most of the wealth was concentrated in 22 countries. As you can see the figures, 66% of industrial assets, 70% of insurance funds, 90% of bank assets were in the hands of like 22 families. And you thought that this will be released by the taking of the fact as the rich will spend more and more, so the poor will become more rich, but he was wrong. And due to this policy, there was extreme dissatisfaction among the general public because of the class differences and increasing alienation of Sindh and Bengali population. Due to these things, Awami League won the election and got 60% of votes. Awami League was actually in the East Pakistan, and the party won the election in the West Pakistan. So, and they demand 6-point agenda. In this 6-point agenda, they tried to decentralize the government and on equal distribution of resources between units and less power for the center. But it was unacceptable to establishment of the party. Now, as they were demanding this thing and there were no rights for them, so they started the rebellion movement, and army launched an operation in order to cope with these challenges. Now, the difference between East Pakistan and West Pakistan was that India was between East and West Pakistan, and there were a lot of space between them, and they were different, like ethnicity, history, tradition, and culture. On the other hand, due to the new system, the middle class was crushed totally, and there were a lot of resentment there, and that's why the Congress was created, because of the youth policy and the greater space between the two regions. Now, Zulfikar Bhutto comes and he is like a very keen audience, audience from every class of the society. You can see disgruntled industry labor, migrant taking job, and big landowners. He adopted everyone in shelter, and he had this famous political slogan, bread, clothes, and house for everyone. And he was the most powerful leader in our history. Now, what he did, in order to deal with the class differences, he adopted all the industries into the government and capital intensive industries, and because of that, most of the investors flew from the country and they went outside and took all their money, and Pakistan was in a very bad economic position. Actually, this was meant to flip the wing of the two countries, but it failed, and he did some agrarian reforms. Now, why did Bhutto fail? Actually, he has a lot of keen ideas, like sometimes he was also supporting the poor, at the same time he was supporting the landowners, and most important reason was that he was like pro-communist and pro-Islamic, so it was unacceptable to the Western allies, like being government. So all of them conspired and he went away. Now, General Zia comes, he comes only for 90 days, and he said that I will win election in 90 days, but he ruled for the longest period, like for 11 years. And at that time, Pakistan became an ideological state. In order to get legitimacy, he promoted Sunni Islam in the country, because Sunnis are the majority, and he was not having legitimacy. So for that purpose, he adopted Sunni Islam, and he emphasized on the regulative, punitive, and extractive aspect of Islam rather than social and vegetarianism. And minorities suffered a lot in this time, especially Ahmadis. Now, this was the time of Cold War and beginning of extremism. The CIA, with the help of ISI, promoted jihad culture in Pakistan to fight against the Soviet Union, which was in Afghanistan at that time. And they brainwashed a lot of the youth in our country and small people, and all of them went to the Afghanistan and fought the war. They defeated communism, but due to that, illegal drugs and weapons spread in Pakistan. 1.7 million refugees come to Pakistan, and a much more ideologically divided state, because Islam got upper hand in the state, and it was a very like harsh Islam, and like they used to cut the hands of the people who steal, and it was like very bad. And at the end, the Zia died in suspicion airplane crash. Now, after he dies, the democracy comes again, and like for 10 years, 4 times the parliament was dissolved because of this article in the constitution to get to be, which was inserted by the dictator to have a control over government. And the president used to dissolve the National Assembly after 2 or 3 years because of the misgovernance and corruption charges and self-interest. And at that time, a trilogy emerged between Prime Minister, President, and Army Chief. Army Chief was the strongest one, second was the President, and third was the Prime Minister. Now, there was severe ties between the Musharraf and Nawaz Sharif. Nawaz Sharif was the President at that time, and Musharraf was the Chief of Army Staff. And he was going to remove Musharraf, but actually Musharraf took over the government, and this was the time of development for Pakistan, because most of the funds flow from America due to the war on terror. And he, in order to pressurize the politicians, he made an organization named National Accountability Bureau. Those politicians who were not on his side, he made cases against them in the start, and at the end when he was going, so he put this National Reconciliation Ordinance to make them happy again. And now war on terror. American president, as you all know about the 9/11, so when the 9/11 happened, after that, American president threatened our president either to join us or beheaded to Stone Age. And so it was a time for Musharraf to get international legitimacy because he was unacceptable to the international community, and this one policy, he took a U-turn in one policy, and he got international legitimacy as a good ruler, as a good democrat of Pakistan.